This isn't a new topic at all, but it's been talked about, it's been circulating again. State of the skate industry, is skating dying? That's like always the question. This question was also a very, very popular question / concern, I want to say about 15 years ago. We'll talk more about that later. Jerry Hsu was just on the 9 Club, and they kind of get into this conversation a little bit.
Yeah. So I don't know where I was going with
Well,
that.
I also think too, we're in an age in skateboarding where you said like skateboarding was kind of hurting. It still is hurting at the moment, but we don't have these opportunities to talk to people. We don't have the trade shows going on every year. We don't have these places where skaters and owners like gather like it used to be,
Yeah.
So you have to reach out now.
Yeah, you do have to. You have to be way more proactive.
Yeah.
Because there's just fewer things where people are all together at the same time.
How is it now with skating? Because I know that skating is kind of like on this like downward trajectory. I feel like you've, in a way, sci-fi's kind of transcended skateboarding a little bit. It's out there to like other people. Do you feel you still feel the hit when skateboarding kind of is like at a low point?
Yeah, because I feel like the majority of the people that support us are skateboarders,
right.
And we're so. We're so interconnected with skateboarding, with brick and mortar skate shops, that, like when skateboarding suffers, we will too.
Right.
We do not occupy a space that allows us to not feel the effects of when skateboarding suffers, like if people aren't buying skateboards, then we're going to feel it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so this brick and mortar talk, like shops closing and all that stuff, this has been a thing that's been talked about for the last 15 years. I used to run a skate shop with a good friend. His name was Alon. And we had this issue then. Like everyone was kind of like, their doors were closing. There was a lot of skate shops closing around the country, and everyone was really struggling. So there was like a wave there. And this was around the same time that Alien Workshop disbanded. And, they had like a super team, and then everyone left, and, like Dylan Abe started FA, and like that took off. This was like right before all that happened. Even then, there was like a conversation about that, and skating was in this like little bit of a dip, and then it like kind of came out mid 2010s, and then the internet and Instagram, and I think YouTube also, like Braille and and Revive kind of brought a lot of like new kids into skating, like whether or not they converted to like core skaters. You can argue that, but I think a lot of them actually might have, because there's a lot of kids like that grew up watching YouTube that are now like big relevant skaters. So I think that had a big pull in making skating bigger, whether you have opinions on those channels or not. This conversation has been talked about for like a long time, and that's not me trying to like devalue this conversation, but skating does come in waves, the popularity of it, just like anything else. But the brick and mortar thing is interesting because everything can be bought online on your phone, like literally through something in your pocket. You don't even have to like sit down at a computer anymore. You can just like, it's like one click away. Like everyone knows that. I'm not saying anything that nobody already doesn't know. And skate shops were a very pivotal thing for skate communities in any city or suburban area, for skaters gathered and hung out. And like that doesn't exist anymore. The skate park is kind of a place like that, but even skate parks are kind of empty now. I don't know how it is in other states, because I've been out in Southern California now for over a decade, but there's parks everywhere, and like maybe this is a thing of like we just have too many parks, but a lot of them are empty. Like I'll drive by skate parks and there's just nobody there.
that is a whole insane conversation about why people are buying less skateboards, and it's a real mystery. And that's a lot of the conversations I was having. It's like, what are you seeing? Like, what do you think is going on?
Right.
And there's just a lot of reasons.
Do you think, and I mean, we always try to figure this stuff out here. We talk to people all the time, but when they say there's like millions of skateboarders, like, I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I believe that there's millions of actual skateboarders, active skateboarders that go out and skate and buy skateboard products.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know either, but they're not there might be a million skateboarders out there, but they're not going to be a million skateboarders like that we're used to, I guess, or that the way that we used skateboards and how we experienced skateboarding.
Right.
So
Yeah, so I think too the definition of a skateboarder has changed. Like I think anyone can kind of just call themselves a skater, and that goes for like any subculture across the board because of the internet, because of TikTok. You know, like subcultures kind of don't exist anymore because there's such a little barrier to entry, when I feel like that's kind of the thing that makes a subculture. You have to be in the place, you have to be at the venue, you have to be a part of the scene, and now anyone can just like look at an outfit and dress the part, and then, you know, they can be a part of the scene. And I'm not, you know, sometimes that's a bad thing, and then other times it like doesn't matter. But, you know, with skating, I think anybody can kind of just like, you know, obviously just buy a board and go start going to the skate park without really knowing any of the history, or like being pressed on, you know, whether or not they're a poser. Like that doesn't like happen the way that it used to. Like, and I mean, maybe it does. I'm also like 34. I'm not like interacting with like, you know, within the zeitgeist of skating, like with these kids, and if they're like pressing each other about like what they know about skating. But that's how it was when I was a kid. Like you'd get pressed like, oh, you don't know about this? Like, oh, well, damn, you need to like do your history. You need to like learn your history or whatever.
So, for example, I was talking to someone, and they said, we were just talking about it, and they were like, well, kids today don't want to eat shit for 2 years to be good at something, and that is a sweeping generalization. Kids who skate also have many other interests now because and their phones. You know, those are the top three reasons. Right. I feel, you know, like I started skating because I was desperate for some sort of identity and a way to express myself. And I feel like today, the ability to find something like that, there's just so many more choices. Right. So, you know, you don't really need to define yourself in such a sort of narrow way anymore.
Right.
And another reason is, you know, it's so funny, another person, or the same person actually said, kids who only go to skate parks.
Yeah.
There are way more skate parks now. And I'm guilty of sort of being a person who's at a skate park too much. But
yeah, same.
If you just skate a skate park, you don't really need a new board that often, you know?
We were talking about that with Paul Zitzer. He was saying that our even public park.
Okay, so I think there's a lot here. For whatever reason, like skaters always just find a way to get shit for free, and it's, you know, like everyone has a homie who works at a skate shop or in the industry. Like, dude, I'm guilty of it. Like, I don't pay for boards. Like, I'm probably a part of this problem, you know? Yeah, I mean, that's gonna like hurt sales, you know? But you like want to give stuff to your friends, you know? You want to be like the guy that's cool that, you know, gives people shit. And I mean, skating's very like, you know, anti-establishment, like pretty anti-capitalism. So like there's a lot of that attitude, I think, when it comes to product and, you know, giving people stuff. And I mean, dude, the phone thing too, it's like you don't need to be so rigid anymore, like in your identity, because you can just like change to a new identity next week by putting on a different outfit, is what it feels like. Maybe I sound old and like removed from the current like state of skating or the zeitgeist or whatever, but I mean, I feel like I definitely am still like in the know enough to like see what's happening, because like I don't know, other than sci-fi and like Frog, you have Last Resort. I don't know if Polar is as big as it used to be, but like those are some of the it brands, and they're not very big. Yeah, I feel like they've had this short like window of hype, this like very like 2 or 3 year window, and then like, you know, it's on to the next thing. And I think skating has always been like that, but you still do have legacy brands like Baker. You know, a lot of the old shoe brands are gone now, but you know, this isn't just in skateboarding. I think that this is happening in a lot of different things. There's a lot of like moving pieces here, because I think that skating isn't exactly dying. I think skating is just like the bubble that was created in the early 2000s. Like we have ridden off the hype of like Bam and Tony Hawk and Rob Dyrdek for 2 decades. And I think that bubble is kind of finally bursting, you know? Also, all of us that grew up skating in the early 2000s, we're the middle-aged people now. So, you know, a handrail doesn't fascinate the general public the way that it used to back in the early 2000s. When you see someone grinding down a handrail or you see someone jumping the mega ramp, they're all like, oh yeah, I did that when I was a kid. Like everyone has the I used to skate story, you know, or like everyone's like dated a skater, you know? So it's like, it's the, what's the word I'm looking for? The proximity isn't far anymore. You know, nobody's that far away from skating as they used to be, to where it had this like impressive shock value skill, or this like new action sports athlete thing, like, you know. And then, you know, there's that aspect of it, and then there was the aspect of like, oh, this underground niche subculture, you know. And even in the early 2000s it wasn't, because it went full mainstream, like Vans Warped Tour, mall punk, like that was all like synonymous with it. I mean, I guess you can argue that it is dying, but it's just kind of like leveling off and becoming just another everyday average hobby, because people will get back into, like, you hear that so much, like, I just got back into skating, and it's like people are doing it because they want exercise or they want to go do something with their kids, and I think that's great, you know. I'm not saying that like that's a part of the problem. I just think that this was inevitably going to happen. So I think skating will, like, for sure weather this storm, and it will figure itself out on how to maintain relevance and maintain like an economy, you know. And then there's the whole thing that like skateboards have never risen with inflation. I mean, they're more expensive now, you know, but like, dude, that started only happening like post-COVID, you know, and that's probably because it had to. Like skating, it had to do that for skating to survive. But I mean, maybe even pre-COVID, like FA decks were more expensive. I know there was like a few brands that were charging more, and I think too, like the TikTokification of everything has kind of watered down a lot of these niches, and you know, everyone also has like so many more hobbies. Like, I'm guilty of this. I have like 2 other hobbies, you know. I mean, I don't really consider like going to the gym a hobby, but like, you know, I do jiu-jitsu now and I'm obsessed with it. So I mean, it's like, you know, and jiu-jitsu's having a similar moment right now that skating had in the early 2000s. So I mean, skating's also not the epicenter of what is cool anymore. It was for so long, and I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but skating held this place that was kind of like the tastemaker of what is cool, and I feel like it was the tastemaker of fashion for the longest time, and it no longer is, you know. I feel like I would always see, and this could also, there could be some bias here, there could be some projecting, but just bear with me. This is just an idea that I've thought of. I always saw what skaters were wearing first before everyone else started wearing it. Like 6 months or a year later, then everyone's like, oh, everyone's jeans are smaller. Oh, everyone's jeans are baggier now. Like, it always started in skating from my perspective. And now I don't see that happening. I see people taking influence from other things and bringing it into their skating, which you can also argue that's always happened as well, but it's not going the other way anymore. It's not like skating isn't influencing other things the way that it used to in a fashion, cool art sense anymore. It doesn't seem like, you know. Again, could be wrong. I'm not really a part of the zeitgeist of skating anymore. You know, I mean, and I feel like, you know, once you get older, it's kind of hard to be, unless you move up into those like big wig company roles and you're like paid to pay attention and you're paid to like sell the goods that these kids are riding.
Park's even good for skateboarding.
It's good for like a type of skateboarding.
Right.
But it's just,
Jesus fuck.
Kids will buy fewer boards.
It's a very interesting, and I don't know if anybody has the answer to it, but I think we're on the right track with like the phones and social media and like expressing yourself, like you said. Because like, I don't know if is skateboarding too mainstream now, like quote unquote, where it's like it was special to me because it wasn't, because it was like our own thing, you know. It wasn't being plastered all over social media and YouTube and all this stuff. It was more of like something that was like sacred, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I would say it's not less sacred, but it is more mainstream.
Yeah.
And that definitely has something to do with, I mean, if I was 11 today, would I think this is as cool as I thought it was when I was 11?
Question
and
that I asked myself.
there's no way to answer that question. But
I can answer it.
Oh yeah. What is the answer?
It was way cooler when I was younger. You know, I just think it's way different now. Kids are way too sensitive, and they, like you were saying, like they don't want to fall. They don't want to fall no more. They want to learn shit fast and pick it up and go. And if they don't get to do that, then they move on. So I think that's definitely a part of it for sure.
Yeah, and also there are just the type of pros are different too. I think that has something to do with it.
Right.
I was thinking about the company Menace the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, I mean,
Okay, real quick before he goes off on that, I've also asked myself that, like, if I was a kid today, would I start skating? And I've said a lot, no, but I mean, Jerry's kind of right. There kind of isn't a way to answer that because I'm also answering that from my 34-year-old brain. I don't know what it would be like to be 14 years old in 2025. I only know what it's like to be 14 years old in 2004 waiting for Baker 3 to come out, you know? But what I will say, like, you know, it kind of ties back to, like, skating. It doesn't feel like it has that wow and this could just be me, you know, being, like, less impressed with skating the longer I do it because I've been doing it for so long, you know, it's normal to me now. Maybe if I did see it for the first time today, I would be like super impressed and like, cause that was the thing, dude. The first time I saw people grinding handrails, like that's what like attracted me to extreme sports. I was like, what the fuck? That's crazy. I also don't see where all the skaters are either. I remember going to Stoner in like 2016, 2017. Dude, that park was always packed. Maybe it still is today. I haven't skated there in years, but you know, that was like the park in 2016. I mean, dude, if you've been skating, I mean, everyone that watches me has been skating this whole time. Like, you remember the edits, the fucking colored camo pants? Like, that park was like crazy for that shit. A good example is Cherry Park in Long Beach. Used to be the spot. And I mean, it was even the spot, like, before I even started skating, but like the park, once the park got built, the park was the spot. And then even the redo of the park, like the updated version, when they got all new shit, like it was the spot there forever too. Like it was always packed. And I'll drive by Cherry a lot of times and it's just empty. And I'm like, damn, dude, that's so crazy. Like, is that just Cherry or is this like a widespread thing? Like whenever a new park opens, obviously it gets flooded for like the first month, you know, but then once it's no longer new, you know, then people like wait for a new park. It's weird. We're super spoiled in SoCal because new parks pop up all the time. And, you know, it's just, you know, you just like go to the new park and you don't skate the one that they built last year. It's crazy. What I will say is I do know other people who work at other action sports companies, and it's not just skating. It is action sports as a whole that's kind of hurting. And, you know, you even take it back to Tony Hawk, BAM, Jackass, Rob Dyrdek, Fantasy Factory. You know, the whole X Games in general was this, like, action sports, extreme sports, like giant fucking like marketing campaign, you know? And again, I think that this is because it's lost its like impressive, sexy spark that like it's super like shock value impressiveness that impresses like civilians and pedestrians. They're like, whoa, you can do that? Like we're all middle-aged now from that era. So like, obviously it's not going to impress us. We've been seeing it for the last 20, 30 years. So I mean, internet moves really fast. The internet has killed subcultures, you know, killed them in the sense that they are no longer what they once were. And I don't think that this means like, and I've already said this, like, I don't think this means like skating's dying. I just think like the old era of skating has changed. It is no longer. So if that's what your definition of skating is dead, then yeah, like that part of skating might be dead, might be dying, but it's kind of like a new chapter. Like this would be the sequel. So it's just like whether you like the original or the sequel better, it's kind of like a conversation like that, it feels like. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to share my thoughts on that. This is like a hot topic once again. This was a hot topic. I feel like it's a hot topic like once every 7 or 8 years. It's a hot topic right now. Wanted to share some thoughts on it. Yeah, what do you guys think? Let me know below.